What's up, y'all? Back at you one more time with a sit down with Mark. This time I had the opportunity to interview a former ESPN employee, Clarence Fowler. We used to do work with First Take, used to do work with NFL Live and all of that, things of that sort. So, man, I asked y'all to tune in, like, comment, subscribe. It was very informative, man. So, for all y'all media people that want to do stuff in the media and entertainment, y'all tune in. Hope y'all enjoy it. Peace.
Yo, 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 what's up, Mark?
What's up, man? How you doing?
Man, I cannot complain. living out an absolutely wonderful life, albeit busy. So apologies, for being on the go. It's just sometimes, I just get caught up in the work.
It's cool. It's cool.
Yeah.
I definitely appreciate your time. I appreciate the time. I appreciate the connection. Man, thank you, because I know you run a tight schedule.
Oh yeah. It's all gravy, man. It's like I said, any way I can get in a position where I can expand on the knowledge I have. So happy to help out.
Once we're done, man, hang out with me for about 3 to 5 minutes.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah. Clarence, man, I forgot to put this question in there first, but thank you for doing the sit down with Mark. We've been texting back and forth, man. Good connection, man. Good brother, smooth brother, man. For my new people, for my new people, for my old viewers, tell me a little bit about yourself, man, before I go into these questions.
Okay, that's Clarence Fowler. I am 30 years old now. It's crazy to even say that, but I am a graduate of Florida A&M University, class 2014. Currently, I am in the master's program for public interest media and communications at Florida State University, studying to get that master's degree and work on a track that I'm trying to go and progress for that, Mark.
Right.
And then I also, in between these two stints of college, like I spent 5.5 years working at ESPN. I also spent a spell at Bleacher Report as associate editor. ESPN, I was a researcher, senior researcher, one of the go-to guys for sports knowledge, working with Sports Center anchors and analysts that you see at home. Like they were like in my back pocket, because I was helping them look good on air. So, that was my role there, living in Bristol, Connecticut. But, I decided it wasn't really for me anymore. So, I wanted to forge a new path around the time of the pandemic, just like a lot of other people, and ultimately settled after a short sabbatical and a stint with Bleacher, settled on going back to graduate school so I can further my education and work towards being a professor.
That's what's up, man. Doc, describe the steps you went through in the interview process, and how did you feel when you received the news you got the job at ESPN?
So anytime I tell the story to people that like how I got working at ESPN, it really started in like 2013. So I applied for a fall internship production assistant role, and ESPN processes for internships, they start them extremely early. So like if you wanted to try to be a fall intern, like the process is usually in the spring and extend early parts of summer, like early parts of June, they already know who they're bringing in for the fall. So I had applied for that and I made it all the way to the finals. I mean, like I had multiple interviews. I talked to people how I would do a highlight. I get to the finals, which is the day before my sister's wedding. Lady calls me happy go lucky and everything. I'm thinking I got it. She tells me I didn't. I was like, yo. Yeah. So, so like they were like, yo, you could wait or you could try to reapply for the spring, but I was supposed to graduate in the spring. So it was for me, it was either get the internship in the fall and then try to graduate out in the summer, by coming back to the spring and do the summer, or like just go all out, graduate in the springtime like I was supposed to, and then see what job I can get. So
you ain't trying to hold up graduation.
Nah, exactly. Financial aid.
Ain't nobody trying. They ain't trying. Nah, you done used all them 4 years.
Exactly. So we get to the springtime around that year, like around January, because I was a producer we had a student-run newscast. I was a producer on Monday, so I had my resume reels all good together. As soon as like those resume reels are solid, I was sending them out. So like around maybe January, I think I sent in a couple ESPN applications. And one started getting some traction back maybe towards like March, April, and it was for a researcher role. And this was really stuff that I was doing, just chatting it up with the homies. It seemed like just knowing sports, general sports knowledge, whatnot. So I had to take a sports quiz test, like to evaluate your knowledge, which was generally like 50 questions you had to answer in either, it was like 45 minutes or an hour.
Right.
Like I had maybe 4 interviews with different managers and like the recruiter. And before I knew it, got to the end of May and I didn't hear back from him for about a week. And I checked my email and these cats talk about sending me up, flying me up to ESPN.
Right.
Like, Twitter honey service. We're talking about like rental car, hotel paid for. So end up getting in there. Before I know it, like I had an all-day interview session with these people, or at least the managers in the stats and information department. I probably had interviews from like 1 o'clock to 6 o'clock, like back to back to back to back to back. And that came after lunch. So 12 to 1, I was at lunch, but from like 11 to 12, I was sitting with, at the time, it was Michael and Jamel doing Numbers Never Lie. So like that whole first day was just a blur, all this stuff happening. Michael Smith come and tell me, say, hey man, welcome to ESPN. I was like, yo, especially since I started working with him 3 years later. But when they eventually, but when they called me, it was like the first week of July. I was putting in substitute teacher applications, and then I got the email back, and then, that they were happy to accept me and offer me the job. And of course, I was ecstatic. 2 months out of graduation, I and it's especially in the journalism profession.
Yeah.
I looked at possibly being a substitute teacher or, producing the 5 o'clock news and who knows what market.
Right.
But like instead, I'm making like a lot more money just starting off as a researcher. So like the rest was history. So I was absolutely excited. I was ready to begin a new trek. And at 22 years old, man, like, you just can't.
Oh, yeah. Right. Now, talk about how your college experience prepared you for ESPN role.
So, I mean, I lightly alluded to me being a producer for my newscast, and that was senior year, or my final year. But like the Florida A&M University J School, like, of course I would brag about it, but like they gave us a lot of opportunities to become multifaceted multimedia journalists. Right. So like I started off writing for the paper, and like get my sports game and sports writing, like digital together. So writing was a heavy focus, at least for me. And that's why I think that helped me early on at ESPN, because like I could catch on quick with the writing. And even though it was for television, but for me, it was nothing, just shortening sentences down. That was just the toughest part. So between that and like I talked on radio, so I obviously know what they kind of look for big storylines. Like, like my friend had a radio show and I was on there a few times. So looking for the big storylines, like that kind of helps when you're in a conversation with the producer and the show group about extracting what thing that we need to put on television. So I say that was extremely helpful. Obviously producing, making the call, having the news judgment, listening to sound on tape and understanding, okay, for a researcher, we're supposed to come up with these graphics that's coming after these sound on tapes. Right. So if we got a LeBron sound where he's talking about, wanting to play until Bronny enters the league, I don't know, maybe it's like, what can we expect LeBron production would be like if he's playing at 40, or he can play with Bronny. Yeah. So at least like that part of producing and having that foresight, I think a lot of researchers didn't necessarily have, but it was something that went into my benefit. And that all was due to the different things that were offered to me at Florida A&M. So
that's what's up. Doc, after leaving ESPN, you done had your fun. It's time to do something different. What was the next plan? Did you have one? If so, what was
it? Man, I don't know if this is a PG show or whatever, but I gotta say, I ain't have shit. Like, to be honest with you, like what I did know is I had my happiness, I had my joy, and I had my sanity. And I know all of those were being violated by the work that I was doing. And it wasn't what I was doing. It's just how I had to do it.
You went about it.
I was in a big struggle, like mentally, with some obstacles, within my department. And for a while, like it just got tough to shake, and it was really limiting, I think, what I could do and the passion that I had. And I just got tired of being stagnant. Like, you're going to learn, a lot of y'all will learn at some points in life where you're just not in a place of peace, where it's just going to become restless, like what's inside. And I just I was not the type of guy to go to sleep every night and be content with making the same like paycheck while also working like 10 hours a week of overtime.
Yeah.
Like that's not me. Like I was doing a lot for ESPN. I mean, I led, like, just in our sports department alone, I was an NBA team leader. So I was putting up a lot of NBA content. So like, I remember like LeBron passing Jordan, like I made a whole packet listed on that. We're talking about different graphics that you could have used for it, comparing LeBron and Jordan. This thing had like 5 different storylines. It had a potential top 10 of LeBron's best buckets, like all the buckets and where to go find them when LeBron scored, like, different milestones in his career. Like that's stuff that I was mining and doing within like 2-3 different days, just to make sure that we could have it for those 2 games that he could have passed Jordan. Mm-hmm. It was unheard of. But again, like that's a lot of things you have to put on yourself. And for me, like, I just didn't have the wherewithal to continue doing that. I was not happy. And so I stepped out on faith, man. Like as soon as I got my Christmas bonus in 2019, I was out. So, but I mean, my department knew about it. They knew about it for like 2 months. They tried to sweeten the deal a little bit, but at that point they couldn't make me an offer that was better than me going somewhere else, resetting. And so I took the time off to myself. I reevaluated a bunch of things. Gave myself a short sabbatical. Thankfully, for being single for most of my life in Connecticut, I was able to save a whole lot of money, where especially when the pandemic came and people were losing jobs, and people like stimulus checks, I never got a position where I was tight.
You good.
My parents held me down. I could live with them a little bit, just have a slower life. And then I found out what next was for me. And it was going to graduate school, becoming a professor, and then eventually starting my own production company where I can start working on sports narratives and sports features and nonfiction sports stories that will allow me to continue being a storyteller, because that's where my passion is.
That's what's up, man. Being that you have worked in a major media company, for us upcoming media moguls and journalists, man, myself included, what advice can you give?
So, I mean, there's a lot of different things that I could say here, but I think like I'll give like 2, like I'll give an A and a B. Like I think for A, always remember that this business may be or may not be for you. And if you go into that, I think with that mindset, you kind of have a leg up on everybody, because there's some people willing to get out in this business and want to get out there, and they realize it's not for them. And like, they immediately lose like mental psyche, mental gains. Like they just kind of lose themselves and allow the business to get over them. But I think if you're aware of that going into it, like, you might not have a good fit at one job, but that doesn't mean that you're not cut out for this business. You know what I mean? Like, so you have to, step out on faith for any position that you are going for or out in this career, and really understand that it could work, it might not work, but if this is truly something that you're passionate in, there will always be a place or always be a group of people that will welcome that. So like, I think this industry is big enough for that, but it's also small enough for you to realize that, these jobs don't grow on trees. So like, that'll be kind of like my first answer, just kind of being aware of what you're about to get yourself into, because it's certainly by no means easy. And some of y'all look at what the starting pay is for everything like that, and you're like, oh, you got to do all this work for this very little. Well, it's rewarding if you make it to the top of the ladder. So regardless, so like that's a fight in itself. And then I think for the second point, and what I mainly did was like, I challenged myself at all times. Like, so when I was at FAMU and I was the Monday producer, like I was challenging the Tuesday, the Wednesday, and the Thursday producer, because we're all different people. Like, I'm making a better show to you this week. And like understanding, at least throughout school, like that I wasn't only competing with my peers, but I was competing with everybody, like in the Southeast. I was competing with everybody in the United States. And now it's internationally. You were out there competing with a ton of people. So just don't think that your stuff is ever good enough to the point that you can't work on things. Like, always give yourself a challenge. And there are so many accessible things now in media, like, between journalism, where you can blog, like iPhones take really, really good videos. So you could be doing packages, cutting those off the phone, like just continuing to stay active. And even if it's in a period where you graduated and you're waiting for a job to open up, you can still have these things that you can display on a website, these storytelling elements that you can continue to do and work on your skills, have that on your website, and you still have a leg up in experience than some people coming straight out who haven't done that. And I think a lot of people, when they get discouraged about different jobs, part of it is due to them being on Instagram and seeing other people got different jobs and whatnot. Everybody's path is not the same, especially in the journalism field. So you're going to have to eventually understand that, your time may come quickly. And for me, it did. but that's not everybody's story.
Yeah.
So as long as you are content with that, you know, don't sit on your hands, continue to work, continue to fire your passion. So if your passion is to be an anchor, and you don't have that anchor job right away, but if you're in a local town where people know you, man, I will be out there shooting packages, like a couple packages a week. Okay. You know, just like telling stories. And I mean, it don't mean that you have to do a stand up with a sign off, but you can still get your stand up in, you know, shoot this stuff off your phone, because eventually you might have to do some creative packages like that in the news field. And I remember seeing one package, dude, it went viral. Dude was skating on a skateboard before his stand up. So, you know, you never know where these skills are going to come in and be useful to you. So don't get discouraged. Don't pay attention to what other people are doing. You know, if you're in that in-between time, just try to find different things to work on your skills. I won't advertise, I won't agree to doing too many things unpaid. But if it's in a position where you're unpaid, but you're also learning and growing, just give yourself a time limit there to learn what you need to learn and keep it pushing. But for stuff that, you know, you can really showcase, because sometimes if you don't have the job to put on your resume, then do that stuff like on a personal website, invest into that. And if you don't got the money for it, see if you can have somebody who can help you get like a year-long thing where you can invest into a website where you're adding content and creating stuff, so you're just not staying still. Because I promise, if you're in the journalism field, that means that you don't like to stay stagnant. Like, you know, you want to fight and be able to get what you want to do. So, give yourself the opportunity to do that by continuing to move, even though you might not have the job that you're looking for.
Okay. Dog, in closing, man, we are halfway through the year. What you got going on right
now? I mean, I'm watching these finals just like everybody else. I mean, I don't have a dog in the fight watching these finals, but personally, I'm in some downtime because it is the summer, at least downtime for school, I shall say. But I'm actually taking a couple classes. I'm actually going to try to work on becoming a teacher's assistant, so I can start getting some years of professorship out the way, because I'm gonna need that to become a professor. I am working in a production group with somebody that I met in graduate school. We actually just finished shooting a second movie. So as a cinematographer, I'm going to get credits for that. And hopefully this film looks good, where we're going to be able to send it out to some film festivals. That's the word. Some film festivals, and hopefully maybe get an award or two, so I could be an award-winning filmmaker. You know, we'll see. And you know, making sure that like in this time, like during summer, I can actually spend some time with my family. Like I did miss a lot of that in Connecticut. You know, I got when I started working at ESPN, I didn't have no nieces and nephews. Right now I have 6. So so I want to be able to make sure that I'm a presence in their life, so they don't know me as the mysterious uncle. So I'm actually in Atlanta, you know, just visiting family and a couple other people, and that'll you know, and that to me, like, you know, is somewhat fulfilling, and being able to have opportunity, you know, to be able to do this, because I didn't in Connecticut. Like, you know, we're talking about I was 18 hours away from home, 18-hour drive. But that's what I got in the kitchen, man. You know, it's you know, the journey's still unfinished. Graduation hopefully next spring. If they want to pay for me to get a doctorate degree, I'll take that. Right. I'll do that. But
that's what's up. That is what's
you know,
up.
right now I'm just following my instincts and trusting my path of what I need to do. And hopefully, like I said, just perfecting my craft. So by the time I become a professor, then that time the production company's launched, and I'm just working on projects and counting checks. That's it.
Oh yeah. Big dog, I appreciate your time, man.
Hey, no problem, man.
I really appreciate it. Thank you for your time, for your advice. I will take all that in. Much love, always respect, man, and hope we can keep in touch.
Oh yeah, for sure, man.